Victoria is going through a tough time at the moment, especially with the bushfires. We'll keep you updated on that situation. And we dips our lids, of course, to all the volunteers helping out. Great Australians, every one of them. Many people and businesses suffered yesterday and today too, thanks to electricity failures, load shedding and blackouts. Now, weather played a role, there's no doubt about that, just like it did when the whole of South Australia was blacked out 8 years ago. But the fragility of the energy grid, the lack of resilience, the lack of dispatchable generation thanks to the push towards renewables is what made this such a mess. That's why there was load shedding. That's why there were widespread blackouts. That's why Victoria was frantically importing power from Tasmania, from South Australia and New South Wales. And it's why the wholesale price in Victoria yesterday hit the market maximum of $16,600 a megawatt hour, 40 times what it was just beforehand. We always get hot and windy days. These are the days of high demand for electricity. These are the days of bushfire danger. These are what we get in an Australian summer. And our system needs to be able to stand up to them much, much better than Victoria's did yesterday. But the Victorian Premier is trying to pretend this is all about climate change.
So there is no doubt that we are seeing not just a change in the timing of these extreme weather events, but also the extremity of these weather events. And so that absolutely is being factored into the work that has particularly been led by the Energy Minister in terms of both addressing those issues around energy security, which is why that work on renewables is so critically important, but also the broader resilience of the system. And I think
what rot. Well, there is no resilience, as we're seeing. And the reason is the over-reliance on renewables spread all around the state. These politicians pretend they can change the climate by using renewables, which is scientifically nonsensical, by the way, because nothing Australia does can change the climate. And then they leave us with a fragile and unreliable electricity system as a result. It's not as if any of this is a surprise. Some of us have been warning about this for years, including all through last year. We need more dispatchable power, firming power to back up the renewables, and that means undoubtedly, unavoidably, more gas-fired generation. But this mob would rather spend billions on solar farms, wind turbines and offshore wind too, all connected by an extra 10,000 kilometres of transmission lines. 10,000 kilometres. This is why your bills are going up, and this is why you could be facing more blackouts. What that means is that our electricity grid is going to be tested. So the politicians have wrecked our electricity grid in a futile attempt to make the climate cooler, and now when we desperately need electricity to keep cool in the summer, we face the prospect of days when we might not have enough electricity to meet demand. Yeah, it's also obvious, isn't it? But the renewable zealots of the left remain in denial. The Victorian Energy Minister claims there was no supply problem.
Yesterday was not about a lack of electricity supply. It was not about the fact we did not have a lack of generation availability to produce the power.
And this nonsense was echoed in the Green left media, where the Guardian's reporter said it was all about transmission towers going down in a storm. There was no way to transmit power. Then it doesn't matter what's feeding the transmission, it cannot get through. This is all so stupid. It is stupid, all right. Renewables investor and promoter and Teal's funder and coordinator Simon Holmes à Court also took to social media, keen to blame this on extreme weather and transmission lines tripping out coal-fired power stations, as they did, and he had a few barbs for me for some reason. You see, they all avoid the obvious point here. Where were the other sources of generation? Where were the wind turbines and the solar panels? If it's all about transmission, why were areas that didn't rely on the damaged transmission lines also affected? Why did Victoria plunge into such a crisis without the coal-fired power from Loy Yang? It was hit by a supply problem. It didn't have enough generation where it needed it. It had to shut down power users and pull in all the power it could from wherever it could. That's why the price shot up from usually around $100 per megawatt hour to the maximum of $16,600 per megawatt hour. The price is the giveaway. The astounding maximum price tells you Victoria was short of generation, just as we warned. In this country, especially in South Australia and increasingly now in Victoria, we've made our energy grid far more fragile and vulnerable than it should be. And the very weakness we've been warning about has hurt Victoria this week. Tonight I'll speak to a pro-renewables expert who will explain how this can be handled a lot better by ensuring our generation is close to where we need the power.